Hello there, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm gonna do a French girl inspired fall makeup tutorial. I've been obsessed with Emily in Paris and just watching other Parisian or French makeup tutorials on YouTube. I like the vibe, I like how it's a little bit more effortless and minimalistic, so I really wanted to do my take on it. One thing I'm noticing, a lot of these girls, they don't wear any foundation. I don't have perfect skin, so I'm going to do as best as I can with the prep steps of my base before I actually start going in and tackling the coverage aspects. So I'm gonna throw on a little bit of lip balm because we are gonna do a dark lip, and this is always nice to put on before you're doing your makeup so that your lips are nice and hydrated before you go in with matte lips or dark lips in general. I'm using this one from Laneige. I've also got redness under my eyes and darkness. It's eczema season, y'all, and I'm just gonna pop a little bit of eye cream underneath my eyes. They're really sensitive today, so I just wanna put some type of hydrating base for when I go in with my concealer. This one's from Shiseido, and I just like how it's really emollient. It's quite oily, so if you do have that dry, irritated under eye, it's really nice. And I just put a generous amount right under the eyes. Next, I'm gonna do this hydrating ampoule from Wander, just on clean skin. I put this on the planes of my face, and then I do have this pimple right here, which is in its like dry, crusty phase, which is so gross, but this will help hide any dryness and texture under my skin, and I'm really gonna like push it onto this crusty guy right there. And then I'm gonna take the Sisley Black Rose Cream Mask. This is too expensive to use as a face mask that you are then going to wipe off of your skin. So what I like doing is using it as a primer, and it's really great. I just do a small bead, work it into my skin, let it soak in for about 10-15 minutes, and then I just notice my skin's more plump and it feels hydrated for a lot longer. So this is going to be my primer today before I do my makeup. So I'm just gonna really massage this in, and you can see within a couple seconds it really brightens up the skin, just makes it look a little bit more plump and bouncy, and I feel like it makes a really big difference just going in with these prep steps to ensure that your base looks as good as possible. French girls, they don't really wear a ton of foundation. Typically on a day like this, I would put something a little bit more medium coverage on, just because I do have a lot of that redness from the eczema right there. You can see the patch a little bit more visibly in lower lighting. If I'm in bright lighting, it definitely helps wash out the redness. But I do still have some, hyperpigmentation. These are not fully depleted. They're still a little bit active, and obviously I've got a lot of hyperpigmentation from previous acne breakouts. But I'm going to do the whole spot conceal thing, and first thing I want to address is the darkness right in this area. So I'm going to use my Becca Under Eye Brightener, and I'm just going to take a light veil of this and pop the product right in the darkest parts of my eye. And then I'm going to use this little IT Cosmetics concealer brush to just buff out a little veil of brightness. And this does make a really big difference in my opinion, but I won't be putting this in this area because that's where a little bit more texture is from the eczema, and I don't want the shimmer in this product to bring that to light. For my under eyes, because that's where I want most of the coverage, I'm gonna use my NARS Radiant Creamy Concealer in Ginger. And I'm just going to pop this right under my eyes, as well as on this outer corner, to help conceal that eczema flare up, just to tone down that redness. Now, another thing that I do notice when I have a little bit of eczema under my eyes, the product will sometimes lift off of it. So I'll show you how I conceal the eczema patch a little bit better once I've blended out the majority of the under eye concealer. So it tends to be for me that the eczema will reject product a little bit. So I take some extra, just a tiny bit, and right where the product has seemed to lifted, I'll push it in with my fingertip, just lightly tapping right on the patch pop some concealer on any hyperpigmentation that's particularly darker. And I always like to conceal around my nose. I have some redness there. I really like how concealing around my nose gives a little bit more of a all over evened out complexion illusion. So I just, again, tap and push that in with my fingertips. And you always want to make sure you get this little crease. I hate when I skip that and I don't get like that good of a blend. Another thing I learned from Violette FR is she doesn't put foundation or concealer on her nose. So it just looks like more skin-ish, I guess, because it gives the illusion that there's no other makeup, because if you keep the center of the face a little bit more clean, it doesn't look like there's makeup all over the skin. And I'm letting some things peek through just so that, again, it gives the illusion that there's not as much makeup on as there actually is. I'm gonna put a little bit of pencil in my brows. I'm using the Dior Brow Styler just so I can shape out my brows before I do my eyeshadow. And I always like to use the spoolie on the other end of the brow pencil to just help move the color throughout my brows so that you don't see any apparent strokes from the pencil itself. Moving on to eyeshadow, which is probably my favorite part. Well, actually, okay, so my favorite thing about the French Girl makeup is the easy, effortless base, but I also love the effortless, smudgy eyeshadow looks. It's a lot of one and done type of looks. So I want to start off with the Charlotte Tilbury Cream Shadow in Betty. And I'm just gonna pick this up on my finger like this, lightly dot it all over both of my eyelids. And then I'm gonna take the Fenty eyeshadow brush and use that to blend the shadow around and almost create just a light wash of color. Take a little bit on a pencil brush. This is a Zoeva 230. Just gonna dip into the pot like so. Always, you know, work that into the brush as much as I can. And then run it along the lower lash line from the outer corner to about mid-eye. And then I'm gonna take a cream shadow stick, which is a little bit deeper. This is Rustique from Nude Sticks. And I'm just gonna run this close to the lash line, really pushing it in. And then I'm gonna take another pencil brush, same one, just a different clean brush. This is a 231 from Zoeva. And I'm gonna use that to blend out that cream shadow. And I am pulling the shadows into a little bit more of a cat eye shape, doing a little bit of a subtle winged shadow. Okay, next I'm just gonna take this soft focus powder from Too Faced on a Mario brush and just buff this right into the crease and up to the brow bone, just to put a little bit of color in the crease of my eye. And this is what I love about the French Girl makeup. It's all kind of melting together and just getting really nice and blendy, and it's not too structured. I'm gonna take a little bit of a deep eyeliner. I'm using Demolition from Urban Decay, and I am going to run this just smudged along the top lash line. Doesn't have to be perfect, but just so I get a little bit of that color. And again, blend it out with my pencil brush. I am gonna set my under eyes down just a bit, so I'm gonna use the e.l.f. Hello Halo powder. Just pick up a tiny bit on my brush. This is a Pro Concealer 57 Sephora Pro brush, and just lightly tap the powder right under my eyes. I also noticed a lot of French girls either using their lipstick as their blush or a cream blush, and I really want to use this beautiful one from Fenty because I just think this is a really nice fall color. This is the Fenty Cream Blush in Rose Latte. I'm going to pick it up on a Smashbox blush brush, just picking it up directly from the pan onto my brush and getting the excess off on the back of my hand so I have a little bit more control over the pigmentation. And just going to lightly stipple this on my cheeks. And you can dab a little bit on your nose too, just to get that little cheeky looking flush. I noticed a lot of French girls in the videos I was watching weren't using bronzer, but I do feel like it makes a big difference. So I want to put just a touch of bronzer on. I'm going to use my NARS Casino matte bronzer, and I'm just going to lightly buff this into my skin because I just feel like bronzer really wakes me up, and I do think you can still apply it subtly if you really buff it in. And I also like just that little added bit of definition. I am gonna pop a little bit of highlight on, so I'm gonna use the Fenty Mean Money and Hustla Baby highlight. Just gonna take it on an eyeshadow brush so I can make it look as natural as possible and just lightly highlight the high points of my face so that it's really subtle and it just gently catches the light. The French girls really aren't into that aggressive, beamed up looking highlight that a lot of us are into. It's just the truth. They don't really do anything that's too apparent. I'm gonna do the Revolution Soap Brows just so I can get that really pretty, perky, bushy looking brow. And I'm just picking it up on the back of my Benefit Brow Pencil Spoolie. And then working the brow paste right into my brows and really fluffing them up. I could do this for like 30 minutes. Honestly, I could brush up my brows for way too long. I'm going to curl my lashes. I'm using my Shu Uemura lash curler. One of my absolute favorite lash curlers. It's really great if you have tiny Asian eyes like I do. I feel like it's actually better at getting tinier eyes and making sure that like every lash gets curled. Another thing I'm noticing, French girls don't overdo it on the mascara. They want it to look really nice and soft and fluttery, but not too much like you have a bunch of mascara on. So I think one of the best mascaras to get a really nice, natural, fluffy look is from NYX. This is their Worth the Hype mascara, and I really like this because it lengthens and the volume's nothing over the top. So I'm gonna really concentrate this around the base of my lash and just thickening that base lash line, and then lightly pulling product slowly through the links of my lashes. And I'm also just going to lightly pop it on the lower lashes just to add a little something, but not overdo it. Because sometimes I like that really heavy lower lash look, which isn't always the most natural thing. And I want to keep this looking like my actual eyelashes without a ton of mascara on. I'm going to take a brown pencil and bring back some of the moles in my face, again, just to lighten up the coverage. So anywhere I have like a mole, I'm just gonna bring that back to life. You can also turn any of your old hyperpigmentation or acne spots into a mole. I would not turn that one into a mole because it wouldn't look realistic. It'd just be right in the middle of my forehead. I'm gonna lightly line my lips. I'm using Marc Jacobs Nudist, and I'm gonna do this as natural as I possibly can so that it's not so apparent, but I do just like to have a little bit of extra definition around my lip line. I found two lip colors that I think are really French girl fall looking shades. So they're both from MAC. This one is Devoted to Chili, and then this one is Diva. Devoted to Chili is one of those satin powder kiss shades, so it sets down a little bit more matte, and then there's Diva. I'm gonna use both of them to just do a little bit of a custom shade. So I'm gonna take Devoted to Chili and just lightly apply that to the lips. That's the other thing I noticed. They don't do like full on lip colors, which I really like because that's how I do my lipstick anyway. I like more of a blotted, messy lip look. I like when deep lip colors, unless it's a red, then I do really love that crisp look. But if it's like a deeper color, I think it looks really nice if it's just a little bit more effortless looking and like you've been wearing it for a while. And then I'm going to take Diva and smudge that around. I was watching Jean Damas's lipstick video, like the lipstick part of her video, and she just smears it everywhere and then takes a Q-tip and cleans it up. Okay, I did make a little bit of a mess, so I am gonna take a Q-tip and clean up the edges just a bit. And then a tissue for a blot. Take off that extra top layer. All right, so this is the finished French girl inspired fall makeup tutorial. I really like how the skin feels really nice and lightweight. It honestly doesn't feel like I have any product on at all, and it didn't take a lot of time, so it's nice because it's minimal effort, but it still just helped even everything out. And I just wanted to make a tutorial kind of compiling all of the tips and tricks that I've seen from all the other French YouTube videos that I've been watching. If you have any questions, please feel free to leave them in the comments down below. If you are from France and you do this type of makeup, I'd love to know if I did a good job recreating it. But other than that, I'm gonna list and link all of the products in the description box down below for you. And if you do have any other makeup tutorials that you wanna see in the near future, you can always leave the suggestions in the description box, and I'll do my best to put those on a list to film for you. But other than that, if you would subscribe and come follow me on Instagram, that'd be amazing. And I will see you in my next video. Bye.